Hello, good evening to all of you and welcome to Unacademy. Welcome to this special session where we shall be covering all the important Ramsar sites which have remained in news for the past year and a half and which are important for your examination for the civil services when it comes to the prelims. Now, preparation for prelims examination oftentimes creates a lot of anxiety regarding which protected areas, which Ramsar sites to study and which are the ones which we can largely ignore. So here, in this video, this shall be one-stop solution for all the various different Ramsar sites, and we shall be discussing not only the major Ramsar sites, but the important species which are to be found in the area, the locational aspect of those, and the important features, if possible, the water bodies and the rivers which are draining through that region. Now, before we commence the discussion, an announcement for all of you. Now, for your civil services preparation, we have come up with a special lucrative offer at the lowest ever prices where you get 60% off and starting with the lowest price of 22,999 for a 15-month period where you can apply the code IAS English and gain and avail maximum discount, and you get the top quality lectures from various different educators for all the GS subjects, the test series, the mentorship, and all the associated program and guidance that will help you ace the preparation. Having said that, what is it that you can expect out of this video? Not only are we going to discuss the important Ramsar sites. Now, when we talk about these Ramsar sites, what do we understand by Ramsar sites? So, we are going to cover that very briefly. Now, in our previous lecture, you would have seen where we talked about the Ramsar Convention. Now, Ramsar Convention, which was signed in 1971 in the Iranian city of Ramsar, talks about conservation and protection of wetlands. Now, what are these wetlands? Wetlands basically are those areas where you can have some amount of water which is stored, that can be seasonal, that can be perennial, that can be man-made, that can be natural as well. Along with that, in these Ramsar sites, there is a significant role played by the aviary species, the waterfowl species, for example, bar-headed geese, vulture species also sometimes, and they support a wide variety of biodiversity. Now, they are very vital for the conservation of the ecosystem and protection of natural ecospace in any particular area. Now, in this video, first thing that we will cover is the criteria under which a region or a wetland is declared as a Ramsar site. So what are the criteria? So broader criteria and the minutiae of that as well. Then another area from where UPSC picks up the question is that of Montreux Record. So what is that concept of Montreux Record? And which are the Ramsar sites which are included in the Montreux Records? And then after that, we shall go with the state-wise analysis of the Ramsar sites which are present. Now, not only will we discuss the Ramsar sites, also species, important species, and the characteristics which are prominently present in the news. Okay, so that is something that you will find in this discussion. Now here, there are a lot of wetlands present across the country. Wetlands are those where you will have terrestrial species of flora and fauna also being supported in that region. And this is an important area for carbon sequestration as well. Not only do they act as natural sponges where they will absorb excess amount of water, lead to groundwater recharge, prevent flooding action from happening. So there are multiple different benefits, but not every wetland is categorized as a Ramsar site. So there are certain criteria based upon which you can have a site to be declared as a Ramsar site. Now, what is the procedure for that? First of all, let's suppose there is a wetland which fulfills any of the criteria given in the Ramsar Convention. Now, upon identification with the local authorities, the state government that is there, now after that, it is sent to the Secretariat of the Ramsar Convention. And generally, on the eve of World Wetland Day, which is celebrated on 2nd of February, there is a new list of fresh Ramsar sites which are declared. Having said that, Ramsar sites and their declaration can happen even without those on the 2nd of February or without the World Wetland Day declaration as well. Now, what is important for your examination mostly is those Ramsar sites which have remained in use, and in particular the fresh additions of the Ramsar site in this particular year. So that is something that we are going to cover. First of all, looking at the criteria which need to be fulfilled for a region or a wetland to be declared as a Ramsar site. Now there are a total of 5 different criteria, or if you take and consider the subcategories, there are total 9 of the sub-criterion. Any of those sub-criterion, if it is fulfilled, a region can be declared, a wetland can be declared as a Ramsar site. So what are the major criteria involved? First of all, sites containing representative, rare or unique wetland types, where the kind of water body which you find, now it can be an estuarine ecosystem, it can be a lagoon, a brackish water, or a kind of a unique water body which can end up supporting large variety of biodiversity. So a representative, rare or unique example of natural or near natural wetland type found within a region. Then sites of international importance for conservation of biological diversity. So those kinds of sites which are important for conservation of biological diversity, they are also considered. So here, those which support vulnerable, endangered or critically endangered species, right? Species which are important for maintaining the biological diversity. Then animal species or plant species at a critical stage of their life cycles, or the water bodies which provide them refuge, let's suppose during their breeding stage, during the time of the reproductive stage, during the time of their migratory stages. Now, those water bodies are important for the conservation of the species. So such water bodies, they can also be declared as a Ramsar site. To give you an example, suppose the conditions during the winter in regions of Central Asia, in the region of Siberia, they turn extraordinarily harsh. Many regions are covered with ice and snow. Water bodies, they tend to freeze up. So that is when the waterfowl or the aviary species which are dependent on their food intake from the water bodies, now those particular species, they don't get enough availability of food. So where do they go? So they undertake long migratory routes. Let's suppose a species migrates from the region of Central Asia and then comes over, let's suppose, to Gujarat or Haryana or Rajasthan. Now, when they come over to these particular places, these places are important for the survivability of these species, migratory birds, for example. So they can be declared as a Ramsar site, right? So this is one criteria. Then after that, based upon the water birds and the conservation of water birds, because after all, these wetlands support water birds in very large proportion. So there you have 2 criteria again, right? So which support internationally important water birds, right? And then a wetland should be considered internationally important if it regularly supports 1% of the individual of any kind of species. Then based upon the fish population, there are certain Ramsar sites which are known to support the fish population as well. So they can also be declared as a Ramsar site. Then there are some wetlands which benefit other species of biodiversity. So on that basis also a wetland can be declared as a Ramsar site. So these are the various different criteria and sub-criteria based upon which any wetland, any such water body can be declared as a Ramsar site. A quick recap for all of these. So basically a wetland can be considered as a Ramsar site if it is a unique kind of a wetland, if it is important for conservation of biological diversity, supporting the species in the various stages of their life cycle, based upon the conservation of water birds, if they represent 1% of a particular species of water birds, they come to a particular area, based upon the relevant fish, very unique kind of fish species which can be found in an area, or based upon the other kind of plant and animal species, the unique taxa which are to be found. But then, Why do we declare a particular wetland as a Ramsar site? What is the purpose behind that? The purpose is multifold. One is to increase the awareness levels so that people are more and more aware about the importance of a particular water body. Because in general, we see in many parts of the world, wherever you have water body, that water body is vulnerable to encroachment, construction activities, and so on and so forth. But then, if you are aware that this water body is critical for biodiversity or ecosystem, then there will be a greater amount of respect, a greater awareness, and also the conservation measures will be much more directed and pointed. Having said that, there are certain particular wetlands, despite being declared as a Ramsar site, they face increased amount of endangerment from various different sources. For example, if you consider excessive siltation happens in a water body, let's suppose you consider a kind of a water body, let's suppose. Now in this water body, let's assume that there are seasonal streams which are carrying out increased amount of siltation. On top of that, let's suppose human encroachment has led to increased amount of waste dumping. Now, despite being declared as a Ramsar site, this region remains vulnerable. This region can be endangered. And that calls for immediate and urgent attention. So those Ramsar sites, and listen to this very carefully, those Ramsar sites which are in requirement of urgent conservation and urgent amount of protection, they are included in what is referred to as the Montreux Record. So Montreux Record basically consists of those Ramsar sites, in need for urgent conservation. Okay? In need for urgent conservation or urgent protection. Now, in India presently, we have two of the Ramsar sites which require urgent amount of attention, and they are included in the Montreux Record. One is the Kolleru National Park. In which state is it situated? Let us know in the comment section. And the other is the Loktak Lake. We will be discussing about these water bodies also in our detailed analysis. But then the Ramsar Convention which has been signed, that has been for the conservation of the species and overall to maintain the ecological diversity. That is why in the Ramsar Convention, you will find that there are multiple different international partners also which are involved. Which are those international partners? That again becomes important for your prelims. So basically, the Ramsar Convention has got 6 international partners. You have the BirdLife International, obviously, because most of these wetlands, they are important bird areas. The migratory species of birds come here to feed on the fishes and the other organic matter. IUCN, anything associated with biodiversity generally has IUCN as an important partner. Wetlands International, World Wildlife Forum for Nature, International Water Management Institute. After all, under the wise use principle, the water conservation is one of the important utilities of a wetland. And then Wildfowl and Wetland Trust. These are the 6 international partners associated with Ramsar Convention. So, what is Ramsar Convention? We have seen under what criteria can a wetland be declared as a Ramsar site, which are the international partners of the Ramsar Convention, and then what is Montreux Record. This is something that should be absolutely clear for all of you. Now, a very key important area for the examination is the newly added Ramsar sites. So recently, in this particular year, you have had 4 new additions to the Ramsar list in India, taking the overall list to 89. Now here you will see a state-wise distribution of the various different Ramsar sites which are present in India. The largest number of Ramsar sites are situated in the state of Tamil Nadu, followed by Uttar Pradesh. Now, Why is it so that the largest number of Ramsar sites are situated in Tamil Nadu? The reason again is simple. First of all, the presence of a large water body on the coastline basically provides for natural estuarine ecosystem. At the same time, Tamil Nadu lies on the pathway of the migratory species of birds, in the pathway of Central Asian flyway, at the same time East Asian Australasian flyway. So these are the two important flyways, and the birds migrating through these flyways, they make a pit stop in the region of Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu has got multiple different areas which are requiring urgent attention and which are important for the biodiversity. Now, if you take a look at it, so there are 4 new additions in 2025 when it comes to the Ramsar list. Which are those additions? So, Udva Lake in Jharkhand, basically making it the first Ramsar site in Jharkhand, very close to the confluence or the flow of river Ganga in the northeastern part of Jharkhand, Tirthangal and Sakarkottai in Tamil Nadu, as well as Kyochapalri in Sikkim. Kyochapalri is again the first Ramsar site in the state of Sikkim, the first and the only Ramsar site. So Jharkhand and Sikkim, they have only one Ramsar site. Kyochapalri is considered to be a kind of reverential water body, and it is revered by Hindus as well as the Buddhists equally in the region. Now, Tamil Nadu has got the maximum number of Ramsar sites, followed by Uttar Pradesh. Again, this becomes relevant for your prelims. Now, let us analyze the Ramsar sites of each of the states one by one. We shall be doing and forming a kind of a methodology. We shall be starting from the southern part of the country, and one by one we shall be moving across the states so that it is easier for you to associate and form a pattern. Very important for you guys, and please listen to this carefully. Please do not resort to a list that you will ratify. Try to understand the pattern. After all, we are only going to discuss around 40 to 42 of those Ramsar sites which have remained in use. If you understand the location, if you understand the species which are present, then you will never need to ratify, and you can solve the passage-based question, multiple choice question, which UPSC can throw at you. Having said that, keep that in mind that when it comes to many of the states such as Telangana, such as Chhattisgarh, they do not have any of the Ramsar sites. Okay, Tamil Nadu has got the maximum, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, then when you talk about Nagaland, then when you talk about Arunachal, these do not have any of the Ramsar sites which are included. Now, when we talk about Tamil Nadu has got 20 of the Ramsar sites, from Chitrangudi Bird Sanctuary to Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve. Then you have the Karikili and so on. You have around 20 of the Ramsar sites which are there. Let us discuss some of the important ones in Tamil Nadu. Starting with the Gulf of Mannar Marine Biosphere Reserve. Now, the Gulf of Mannar Marine Biosphere Reserve is situated in the southern part of the country, and again it is one of the most major biosphere reserve in the southern and Southeast Asia, one of the first ones to be declared as a marine biosphere reserve. Now, if you take a look at it, you will find very unique kind of species in the region, from the marine herbivore, that is the dugong, right? You will find a variety of these species. Now, dugongs, again, they are very vulnerable in terms of the destruction and the fragmentation of the habitat. Now, these are marine herbivore species, so they will always be restricted to the coastal waters. They feed on marine aquatic plants. Now, if there is any disturbance or imbalance in the coastal ecosystem, these dugongs, they suffer and their population reduces. They belong from the larger category of the sea cows. Mind you, there was a different species of sea cow which went extinct due to human hunting and poaching activities, which would be found earlier in the northern part and the region around the Atlantic, in the northern region of Europe. But these are a sub-variety or the subgenus of the same species of the sea cows. Now, it is the first marine biosphere reserve in South and Southeast Asia. Now, this is unique for the variety of corals that you will find to be present in the area. Now, wherever you have rich variety of corals, obviously, the biodiversity which is supported by them is also manifold. So here, you will find the dugong, then you will find whale shark, then green sea turtle, hawksbill turtle, Indo-Pacific humpback dolphin. Now, this is your hawksbill turtle. This again is significantly critically endangered in many parts of the world. Now, they do not grow very long. They are around 30 to 35 inches, weighing around 90 pounds. But then they move around the regions of the coral reefs, right? So, not very long or not very large. In fact, 30 to 35 inches, okay? And found to be present in the region of coral reef. In the region of coral reefs. Okay. Now, this turtle again is important for your examination, species in news. Now, local communities, that is the Marakayars, with fishing as the main livelihood, they are the ones that you will find in this particular biosphere reserve. They are dependent on the fishes and the large amount of marine resource which is available in the region. So again, the local community is also important for the exam. Then you have the Pichavaram mangrove. The Pichavaram mangrove, as you move to the north, this is where the Pichavaram mangrove is situated. Now, again, the name in itself tells you that it is a very vital ecosystem, mangrove ecosystem. Now, this again falls under a very special and a unique program launched by the Tamil Nadu government for wetland conservation. You see, Tamil Nadu, because it has the largest number of mangroves, they require urgent amount of attention and important conservation. That is why the state government has come up with the wetland conservation program. This is one of the first of its kind in the entirety of the country when we talk about the state-wise conservation measures to be taken. Because generally, when we talk about the conservation of wetlands, it is done at a central level, leading to many inefficiencies and administrative lacunae when it comes to implementation of conservation. But Tamil Nadu, as a state government, has provided with this unique program. Now, one of the largest mangrove ecosystems of India, and it is located in the between the estuaries of Velar and the Kolleru rivers. So that again becomes important in terms of the rivers. Okay, Velar and the Kolleru. Now, there you will find littoral and swamp forest habitats. So, as a direct consequence, many birds as well as water species are to be found. Now, it supports critically endangered great white-bellied heron and spoon-billed sandpiper. Now, great white-bellied heron has again been in news owing to the conservation and also successful reproduction which has been carried out last year in the region of Arunachal Pradesh. So this is what you will find as the white-bellied heron and the spoon-billed sandpiper. So they are the important critically endangered. Both of them are critically endangered. Now here you will also find a significant population of the olive ridley turtle. Olive ridley turtle keeps on coming in news time and time again. But most of the times when you hear about the olive ridley turtle, you would have heard about them in the region of Odisha. That is, in the Bhitarkanika region, the Gahir Matha beach that you have. There you have the mass nesting of the olive ridley turtles, what is known as Aribada. But then, why do we find them in the region of Pichavaram? Because these olive ridley turtles, which are to be found in almost all the tropical waters across the world, now, as they move towards the region of Odisha, it has been found that they end up stopping here or taking a halt here before going for mass nesting in order to feed and replenish themselves. And again, then they move northwards towards the region of Odisha, right? Then spotted green shank as well as olive ridley turtle. That is what you'll find. Only the important species, the location is what you should be able to recall. Okay, Then we come across the Point Calimere Wildlife Sanctuary and the Biosphere Reserve, or the bird sanctuary rather, not a biosphere reserve, a bird sanctuary. So here, Point Calimere is present again in the region of the Cape, also known as Cape Calimere. Now here, this is the geographical location, or rather the geographical aspect of this particular region, where you will find the presence of sandbars and long intertidal zone. Now, wherever you have these sandbars and intertidal zone, automatically creates certain pockets of water in the interior and also in the hinterlands. That again becomes an important shelter area for the species. So again, here a coastal area consisting of shallow water, shores and long sandbars, intertidal flat plains which are present, intertidal forest, mostly of the variety of mangroves, right? So chiefly mangrove population, seasonal and often saline lagoons. Now, why do we say seasonal lagoons? Lagoons or backwaters are impacted by the storm surges, cyclonic occurrences, as well as the flow of the river water. So that is why during the cyclonic season, you will find in certain cases the tidal surge creates the influx of saline water. Otherwise, streams from the interior during the rainy season also ends up creating brackish water due to the supply of fresh water resource in that area. Now again, spoon-billed sandpiper, grey pelican, and greater and lesser flamingos are to be found in the region of Cape Calimere or the region of Point Calimere. Then another important region, or another important Ramsar site, so to say, in the region of Tamil Nadu, the northwestern part of Tamil Nadu, that is the Longwood Shola Reserve Forest. Enlarge the comments a bit. Okay, so I hope it is audible and it is visible as well. So we were talking about the Longwood Shola Reserve Forest. Now this Longwood Shola Reserve, Sholas are a very unique montane ecosystem associated with the region of Nilgiris. Now in the region of Nilgiris, due to lower temperature, you generally come across the presence of this kind of almost evergreen vegetation which we refer to as the sholas. Now that is very vital for a wide variety of herbivore population, including the very important Nilgiri tar. So that is also one of the population that you will find to be present in the vicinity. Now this is one of the last surviving urban sholas in the area. The Tamil Nadu government has come up with a program to conserve, to understand about the Nilgiri tar. And that is where you will find the project Nilgiri tar being pioneered and initiated by the Tamil Nadu state government. Now, if you notice the area carefully, this is the Longwood Shola Reserve Forest. Now, it lies between hillocks and the presence of hills all around. So, the presence of streams and water bodies, this keep the area greener and the abundance of water is there. At the same time, this water actually feed some of the numerous streams which also fulfill the requirement of drinking water purpose. But then, the presence of water in this region is very vital for the microclimate of the area and also causes periodic and regular amount of rainfall received in this region. So that is your Longwood Shola Reserve Forest, which is amongst the westernmost wetlands or Ramsar sites in the state of Tamil Nadu. So this is the unique Shola vegetation that you will be able to find. So it is the only urban natural Shola forest which is left in the Nilgiris. You see, in the region of Nilgiris, due to monoculture agricultural practices, monoculture or monocultivation is basically where in large areas you carry out the plantation of, let's suppose, tea, coffee, etc. There is urban encroachment. So as a consequence, these very vital and at the same time very ecologically important and beautiful sholas, they are getting destroyed, due to which the other species of organisms, they are impacted like a cascading effect. So this is an ancient forest that has nutrient-rich soil which has been formed over hundreds of years. The organic matter present here is high owing to the presence of water. Now, like other Shola forests, Longwood Shola is nestled between two hills and acts as a pursed aquifer, retaining the water that flows from these particular hills, creating moisture abundance. Now, it has also received Queen's Commonwealth Canopy accreditation in 2022, which is a kind of an accreditation which is provided to eco-sensitive and ecologically important areas. So that is the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy accreditation in India. It has been provided to the Longwood Shola forest in the region of Tamil Nadu. Now here you will find the endangered black-chinned Nilgiri laughing thrush. This is your Nilgiri laughing thrush, known for its unique kind of voice that it emanates. The Nilgiri blue robin, vulnerable Nilgiri wood pigeon, these are some of the unique species of birds that you will find. It is threatened by encroachment and invasive species and deforestation. In this particular area, you have the species such as eucalyptus, you have the species such as, when we talk about Senna spectabilis, Lantana camara, they are the species which have started flooding the area, and as a consequence, the native vegetation is declining in terms of the aerial spread. So amongst the invasive species which are threatening the region, you have the species of eucalyptus. Now eucalyptus takes up all the moisture, rendering the area dry. As a consequence, the native variety of plants, they are unable to grow in the region. Then other than that, you also have Senna spectabilis, which is a problem in the adjoining region, in the Idukki region of Kerala as well. Then you also have Lantana camara. These are some of the invasive species which are impacting the Shola vegetation. One of the important species that you can remember is the Nilgiri laughing thrush. This is your Nilgiri laughing thrush. Okay, so the important species and the location, all that is all that you have to keep in mind. Then you have the Kazhuveli Bird Sanctuary. That is again situated in the northern extent of the region. Now it is the second largest brackish lake in the region of the peninsular India and was designated as a bird sanctuary way back in 2021. Connected to the Bay of Bengal via a creek and receives seawater, as I was telling you in the case of Cape Calimere, that when we talk about the seasonal influences, so during the cyclonic phases and during the tidal surges, that is when the water from the sea comes in these estuaries, and that creates more brackish water. So the fish species that you will find in the area, those fish species, most of them are tolerant to a wide variety of salinity. So this is also an important ecotone, which is a transition zone between different ecosystems. Now, salinity of the wetland varies. To the northern extent of the Kazhuveli Bird Sanctuary, you will find that there is saline water. And as you come to the south, you have fresh water in the region of the Kazhuveli Basin. Now, this allows for various species of migratory birds and spawning ground for multiple different fish species, many of the fish species, even the saltwater fish species. Some of them, they prefer to come to the freshwater region in order to lay eggs and in order to give birth to the young ones. So that is where this can serve as a very vital spawning ground. Now, located along the Central Asian flyway, it provides feeding grounds for migratory species such as the vulnerable spotted eagle, imperial eagle, and the river tern. This is the river tern. Now, its swampy areas offer suitable nesting grounds for Indian flap-shelled turtle and Indian star tortoise. Indian star tortoise was also in news through the last year. So that again, these species where they are found, that becomes important for your exam. Now, in the adjoining state of Kerala, you have three important Ramsar sites. And these Ramsar sites, Ashtamudi, then Sasthamkotta, these are close to each other. And then you have the Vembanad coal. So these are the three important Ramsar sites in the state of Kerala. Now, when we talk about Ashtamudi, this is where Ashtamudi is situated. Now, observe here in the micro-analysis. Why I want you to look into the micro-analysis is so that you understand the ecosystem in a better way. Please, again, do not resort to rectification, that I will rectify all of this. Please understand why they are vital. So this is the region of Ashtamudi. This is the entire region of Ashtamudi Lake. Now, the name in itself, Ashtamudi, is associated with the various different types of outcrops of the land that you will observe here. Okay. There are almost eight such different outcrops or protrusions of the land is what you will find. Now, very close to it, you have the Sasthamkotta. Right? So as a consequence, again, you have large variety of bird species which will either persist here or will take shelter very close to it in the Ashtamudi Lake. Ashtamudi was also in news multiple times throughout the year. Now, it is an extensive estuarine ecosystem, the second largest in the state of Kerala. Now, important for the hydrological functions and the support for fish. Where do we understand that it is vital for fish? After all, a Hirakud reservoir, which is also a Ramsar site, that can also serve as important for fishes. But what makes Ashtamudi or let's suppose Kazhuveli different? These are estuaries. So, in the estuarine ecosystem, if you consider, let's suppose, an estuarine ecosystem where this is the sea, this is the land, this is a small stream of water which is draining, fresh water. So this is your estuary, right? Where some amount of seawater also comes in. So here you will find that, let's suppose in this area A, and if you compare the region C and you compare the region B, in the region of A you will find fresh water, in region of B you will find brackish water, in the region of C you will find the saline water. So that is why A to C you will find a variation in water quality. That is important for the fishes. So wherever you find these, they are important for the spawning ground of the fishes. Now here, across the entirety of the stretch, you will find very abundant population of mangroves, which automatically will be able to support large species of birds as well. Now, Sasthamkotta, which is situated slightly to the northeast of Ashtamudi. Now there, it is the largest freshwater lake in Kerala. Now, the water here is very, very fresh, does not have salt variety, and that is accredited to a particular species. What is that species? A larva called Cavaborus. A larva called Cavaborus is abundant in the region and eliminates bacteria in the water, due to which the amount of purity is very, very high. This becomes again important for your prelims. Okay? Cavaborus. So this is your Cavaborus, which eliminates all the bacterium. So water automatically becomes pure. Even if there is saline incursion, let's suppose, very quickly it becomes pure. Now this is an area which is suffering from eutrophication due to agricultural practices being carried out across the bordering regions. At the same time, you have lot of the population based pressure, encroachment, developmental activities which are also threatening the region. So here 27 freshwater species, fish species are to be found, and it is spring fed and the source of drinking water in the region of Kollam. Okay. Now Vembanad coal. This is where Vembanad coal is situated. This is where Ashtamudi, Sasthamkotta, right? This is where you had Ashtamudi, then Sasthamkotta, and then Vembanad coal. These are the three important wetlands of Kerala. Okay. Unlike Tamil Nadu, here you only have three. In Tamil Nadu also, you don't have to learn all of them. Just keep in mind the major ones. Right. So Vembanad coal wetland, again, abundant with the mangrove population across the sides. It is the largest brackish lake in Kerala, spanning across Alappuzha, Kottayam and Ernakulam district. Second largest Ramsar site in India after Sundarbans. And also the longest lake that you have in terms of the length, absolute length, it is the longest lake in India. It is having a level below the seawater, and that is where cultivation of paddy is also typically carried out in the region. So that is also an important characteristic of the area. When we talk about Karnataka, Karnataka has got 4 of the Ramsar sites. Now, many of them have been declared recently. So the recent ones and in news is what we are going to discuss. If you observe these Ramsar sites, you have the Ranganathitu Bird Sanctuary, Magadi Kere Conservation Reserve, then you have Aghanashini, which is important, and then you have Ankasamudra Bird Conservation Sanctuary. These are the 4 of the major ones. Out of that, Magadi Kere, Aghanashini, they become important. Now, Magadi Kere Conservation Reserve, situated close to the Hubli-Dharwad region. Now here, it is a human-made wetland that was primarily constructed to store monsoon rain and the rainwater for irrigational purposes in the Gadag district. Now, over the years after the construction, slowly and steadily, the water became alkaline. Why? When it was constructed for irrigation, how can water become alkaline? That is owing to the fact that because the region lies in the leeward side of the Western Ghats, the amount of rainfall is not very high. So the streams into the region, they oftentimes dry up. But at the same time, being in the tropics, the rate of evaporation is very high. So as the rate of evaporation becomes higher, the abundance of alkaline materials goes higher up. That is why it becomes alkaline. Now, rare and threatened species such as the northern shoveler, then you have the gargane, common pochard. These are to be found. Now, it is one of the largest wintering grounds for the bar-headed geese. This is your gargane. Okay. The globally endangered Indian pangolin, just like the Indian pangolin is again very similar to the normal or the Chinese pangolin that you would have come across or that you would have seen. But the Indian pangolin is also to be found. So where is Indian pangolin found in terms of the geographical regions of the country? In the region of the Western Ghats. That is where you will find them. Now, Aghanashini Estuary. Now, this is present in the, again, estuary, coastal area. Now, it is where you have the Aghanashini River, which flows into the Arabian Sea. Aghanashini River in itself originates from the region of the Western Ghats. And it is one of the last free-flowing rivers from the Western Ghats into the Arabian Sea. Now, it is not a very large river per se, but nonetheless an important river for the biodiversity. Now here, along with the estuarine and the shallow water ecosystem, you will also find the presence of small islets in the form of pebbles, stones, shores, intertidal mudflats. Now, wherever these are present, again, that becomes the breeding ground and the sheltering ground for the bird population, aquaculture ponds and rice fields. So that wherever you have the aquaculture ponds, fish population will be there, the small ones, and that will serve as the vital food for the bird species as well. Now, here you will find the Halavi guitar fish. This is your Halavi guitar fish, which again is considered to be critically endangered. Indian river tern and lesser adjutant, these are to be found. But here, the Halavi guitar fish, that is very unique to the region of Aghanashini estuary. Okay, so that is again something which should be kept in mind. So the unique species in the region of Karnataka is the guitar fish. Okay, then in Goa you have only one of the wetlands of Ramsar site, wetland of international importance, and that is the Nanda Lake. That is present in the state of Goa. Now it is comprising of the intermittent freshwater marshes to the adjacent to the major tributaries of the river Zuari. River Zuari is the one which drains into the Arabian Sea, and as river Zuari drains into the Arabian Sea, again it forms estuary. Here you have a very unique kind of paddy cultivation cum aquaculture, which is carried out in the estuarine region of the Zuari river, and that is the Khazan ecosystem. So here in the estuary of Zuari river, you have paddy cultivation plus aquaculture, which is carried out. Okay, they are carried out. Now, that is how is it carried out? So some amount of water is allowed into the fields. Now in that standing water, prawns, shrimps, etc. are reared and they are grown. So that becomes a unique ecosystem, which is your Khazan ecosystem. Okay. Now this was in news a couple of years ago, but as is the trend of UPSC Prelims, they are not very gentle in terms of the division of which areas until which time it is important. Now here you have a sluice gate for the adjacent river channel, which when closed enables the flooding of the marshes and creates a very large mudflat or a kind of a wetland. Now black-headed ibis, common kingfisher, wire-tailed swallow, bronze-winged jacana, Brahmini kite, there are multiple of the bird species that you will be able to find in the area. Then as you further move to the east, you have the only Ramsar site in Andhra Pradesh, that is the Kolleru Lake, found in the region of Krishna Godavari. Now that lake, by the way, a very interesting geographical feature of the Kolleru Lake. At one point of time, now look at the location, where the location is. This is where Kolleru Lake is situated. This is the coastline, if you observe here. You see, at one point of time, this was an estuary. That means this had a sea boundary. But eastern coast is known as an emergent coast. It has emerged, right? Whereas western coast is known as submergent coast. Substantial portion of the western coastline that has gone underwater. It is still present underwater, evident by the presence of submerged forest off the coast of Mumbai and so on. Eastern coast is emergent. It has, earlier it was underwater, it has emerged above water. So Kolleru Lake, because of being a part of the emergent coastline, now is substantially in the interior as compared to in the coastal area. So that is your Kolleru Lake. Okay. Now, it is a naturally eutrophic lake between Godavari and the Krishna river basins. Eutrophic means abundant in terms of nutrients. Now, previously a lagoon, but now it is several kilometers inland due to the coastline of emergence and the delta formation. Two seasonal rivers and streams directly feed into it. Again, agricultural pressure, overexploitation, all of them, they are endangering this particular wetland. Species found grey pelican or spot-bellied pelican. Now, mind you, very close to this, you have another very important protected area, and that is your Korenga Wildlife Sanctuary. Korenga Wildlife Sanctuary is situated at the mouth of River Godavari. Now, it is a deltaic stretch, so it is not a Ramsar site, but it is an important bird area where various different migratory birds of the East Asian Australasian flyway, also Central Asian flyway, they come to that particular region. So that is why, while in the region of Andhra Pradesh, the Ramsar site is Kolleru Lake, Korenga Wildlife Sanctuary, very close to it, is also an important bird area. Maharashtra has got 3 of the Ramsar sites. Lonar Lake, which is also one of the geo-heritage sites. We'll take a look at the reason why. Then you have the Nandur Madhameshwar and Thane Creek. So here, where are they? First of all, Lonar Lake. Now, Lonar Lake is a geo-heritage site. And this is a water body having embankments. Here again, being present in the leeward side of the Western Ghats, the amount of rainfall is not very high, but the rate of evaporation is high. This is a geo-heritage site because this is one of the very few existent evidences, of a meteor crash on basaltic rocks. Because in many places across the world, meteor crash has happened, but the evidences are not preserved in the basaltic rocks. This is where the basaltic rocks are present as a part of the larger Deccan traps, and that is why you will find a unique crater-shaped lake which is present. Known for very unique species of bacterium, cyanobacterium, which are present, this particular water body also is known for changing its color. Oftentimes, it gains a kind of a pinkish reddish hue or that kind of a coloration due to abundance of microorganisms. The lake is high in salinity and alkalinity because of lack of inflow and outflow to concentration of minerals as lake water tends to evaporate. Specialized microorganisms such as anaerobes, cyanobacteria and phytoplankton, they survive in the harsh environment. Now here, vulnerable Asian woolly neck, right? Common pochard, reptiles, mammals, including the iconic grey wolf, the Indian wolf variety. That is something that you will find in the Lonar Lake. Important geo-heritage site. There are 2 important geo-heritage sites in this part of the country. One is St. Mary's Island off the coast of Udupi in Karnataka. That, why it is important geo-heritage site? Because it provides you the evidence of continental drift. The hexagonal volcanic rock structure in the St. Mary's Island, they are a direct evidence of the kind of rock continuity that you find in Madagascar. So that is an evidence of continental drift. So important geo-heritage. And then Lonar Lake also an important geological heritage. Then you have the Nandur Madhameshwar. Now here, that is present near the Nashik district. Now here, confluence of Godavari and the Kadwa river has created this particular wetland. Originally, now this has been a construction of a weir in the area, so man-made. Okay, originally designed to overcome water shortage, the site now serves as a buffer against flood water. Excess water is absorbed and important for groundwater recharge. Right now, surrounding semi-arid conditions because of the rain shadow region of the Western Ghats provides a unique kind of a variation. Think about it, all around a particular area, if the conditions are dry, the vegetation will also be dry, isn't it? Water scarcity. In the midst of that, if you have an abundant water supply, not only will it serve as a shelter ground for many species of mammals and so on, it will be an important resting ground for the migratory bird species as well. Now here you will find the Deolali minnow, which is critically endangered. That is your Deolali minnow. Why do you need to see these particular species? Why have I attached the image? Because for the past couple of years, UPSC is asking a direct, blunt question that which of these are a species of fishes, or this particular name is associated with a fish, bird, reptile, amphibian, mammal, and so on. So you should be aware that Deolali minnow, what kind of species is that? Right? Indian vulture, white-rumped vulture, these are your critically endangered. Now here again, invasive species, alien species like water hyacinth. Generally in the case of reservoirs, inland lakes, wherever you have fresh water, water hyacinth is one of those species which starts growing and multiplying abundantly on the surface. As a consequence, the aquatic plants which grow and provide with oxygen, dissolved oxygen in the water, they start to die, due to which the water starts turning hypoxic or lacks oxygen, and that kills many of the species of fishes. And once the species of fishes, they start to die, the bird species automatically will also die. So that is where this water body or this Ramsar site is impacted by, again, invasive alien species. Then in the coastal area of Maharashtra, to the south of Mumbai, or to the region around Mumbai, you have the Thane Creek here. Now in the region of Thane Creek, again, mangrove population will be found, and this is very well known for the flamingo population. Okay. Now it is referred to as a sanctuary for flamingos. It is an important bird area. Okay, and it is one of the largest creeks in Asia, and again in the pathway of Central Asian flyway that you will come across. Ulhas River is the largest source of fresh water, but what is important for the Thane Water Creek, which was in news as well, other than the flamingos that you will find in abundant quantity, is the fact that it is designated as a marine ecoregions of the world and is fed by freshwater sources, due to which it is a creek. That means a supply with the seawater is also there, and then fresh water. So that means it is brackish. It is neither fresh water nor saline water, brackish water, somewhere in between. So it is marine ecoregion of the world, or in a short form, talk about it as MEOW. Okay. Then in the neighboring state of Gujarat, you have 4 Ramsar sites: Khijadia, Nal Sarovar, Thol Lake, as well as Vadhavana. Now, when we talk about Khijadia, situated in the region around Jamnagar, okay, here again, you have critically endangered species which come from the Central Asian region, particularly during the winter seasons. Now, freshwater wetland near the coast of the Gulf of Kutch and Gujarat was formed following the creation of a bandh in 1920 to protect the farmland from the ingress of the salt water from the Gulf of Kutch. Otherwise, if salt water starts coming into the land, cultivation can be absolutely impossible. Now, it is an important wetland habitat of the northwestern or the western part of India. It provides breeding, feeding, and the roosting grounds for wide range of species. Now, here you will find Pallas's fish eagle, Indian skimmer, as well as the vulnerable common pochard. Now, Indian skimmer is also a bird species which was in discussion throughout the last year, because it is again considered to be a migratory species. Now, in the conference of party number 14 to Convention on Migratory Species, or the Bonn Convention. Now, conference of parties number 14 was held in Samarkand, Uzbekistan last year. There, Indian skimmer was discussed in great detail. Bangladesh and India have discussed about this species separately to bring about a greater conservation to this. Now here, supports more than 1% of the South and Southwest Asian population of Dalmatian pelican, 2% of grey-lag goose, and 20% of the common crane. Now here you find a critically endangered plant species, that is Indian bdellium tree, right? So that is a critically endangered species of plant. That is Indian Delium tree. That is something that you find again where? In the region of Kejadia. Okay? That is to be found in Gujarat. Then Nal Sarovar. Now, Nal Sarovar is situated in the interior. Here, that is where Nal Sarovar is situated. It is a freshwater lake, right? And is one of the largest natural wetlands in the entire Thar Desert biogeographic province, right? It represents a dynamic environment with salinity variation and the depth variation also based upon the seasons, from one season to another. Here you find the critically endangered species of sociable lapwing. Now that sociable lapwing, which is to be found from this area of Nal Sarovar all the way till Haryana, you will find the sociable lapwing coming from Central Asia, taking shelter in the region of Haryana, sometimes Rajasthan, and even in Gujarat. So important stopover in the Central Asian flyway with globally threatened species like the critically endangered sociable lapwing. This is your sociable lapwing. Okay, then marble teal, and they stop over at the site during migration. Vulnerable Sarus crane is also something that you will find here. Then you will find another important wetland, that is the Toll Lake. The Toll Lake Wildlife Sanctuary. Now this is a shallow reservoir, right? Constructed for irrigation almost a century back in around 1912. That is when the Toll Lake was constructed. Now in 1988, declared as a wildlife sanctuary, again a part of the Central Asian flyway. Now here, 57% of all the bird species of Gujarat are to be found here. So you can think about the abundance. So sociable lapwing also to be found here. Other than that, critically endangered white-rumped vulture is also to be found. Okay, white-rumped vulture. Amongst the various species of vultures which are found in India, how many of them are critically endangered? Let us know in the comment section below. Vulnerable Sarus crane, common pushard, lesser white-fronted goose, all of them are to be found. And during the dry season, you will also find the black buck population to be roaming around in the region. Then, as you move to the region of Madhya Pradesh, to the east, there you will find Bhoj, Sakhya, Sirpur, Yashwant Sagar, and the Tawa Reservoir. Now, Bhoj and Tawa, they are important. Now, when we talk about Bhoj wetland, situated in the region around Bhopal. Now, two contiguous human-made reservoirs constructed at different times, right? Upper Lake was created in the 11th century by construction of a very rudimentary earthen dam across the Kolans River, and the lower one constructed nearly 200 years ago from the leakage from the upper is surrounded by the city of Bhopal. So again, something to the extent of an urban wetland. Recently, you also had in news the urban wetland accreditation, right? Two cities in India were accredited with the prestigious urban wetland ecosystem. Which are they? Now, the lakes are very rich in biodiversity, phytoplankton, zooplankton, microphytes. As a consequence of that, the fish population is abundant. And as you move here to the south, you come across the Tawa Reservoir. Now that again is an important sheltering ground. It is again a man-made wetland, right? Construction of Tawa Dam, generally for irrigation, is why these dams, these man-made reservoir, wherever you will come across, that is for construction, for irrigation and drinking water purposes. Now located within the Satpura Tiger Reserve, one of the largest protected areas in the region of Madhya Pradesh, right? 57 bird species, fish species, various mammalian species, all of them you will find to be present. Here you will find the state fish of Madhya Pradesh, that is the Tor Mahasir. This is your Tor Mahasir. This is also the region where you will find the endemic Indian giant squirrel, a very typical normal squirrel, slightly larger in size, and other fish species such as vulnerable common, which is vulnerable, that is the common carp and the shark catfish. These are the fish species. What is important for your exam is the tor or the tor mahasir, which is the state fish of Madhya Pradesh. It is also revered as a god fish by the local communities. Okay, so this becomes important. Now, then as we move to the east, we come to the state of Odisha. Mind you, Telangana and Chhattisgarh, they don't have any wetlands of international importance. They have wetlands, but they have not been designated as Ramsar sites till now. Okay, now in Odisha, you have Bhitarkanika, Chilika, and then Hirakud, Satkoshia, Tampara, and Ansupa Lake. Now these are your various different Ramsar sites. Out of them, Bhitarkanika and Chilika, they have remained in news and they are important for your examination. So when we talk about Bhitarkanika, Bhitarkanika is a region of mangroves. Now it is one of the largest mangrove population that you will find other than Sundarbans across the eastern coastline. In the region of Bhitarkanika, you will find vital saltwater crocodiles in very large amount. At the same time, you will also find the nesting ground for olive ridley turtles in the mass nesting exercise carried out in the region of Gahirmatha in what is referred to as the Aribada. Now here, the site's Gahirmatha beach is said to host largest known olive ridley sea turtle nesting beach in the world with 500,000 nesting annually. That is where it has been in use for the past couple of months. It has the highest density of saltwater crocodiles in the country with nearly 700 of them. Now, more than that also, because as per the latest census of the saltwater crocodile which has been covered, the number has been increasing year after year. So that number is very encouraging, which tells you that the conservation practices are on song. Then when we talk about Chilika Lake, now Chilika Lake is where you will find the unique Irrawaddy dolphin known for the smiley face. Now, Irrawaddy dolphin is a part of the species of riverine dolphins that you find all across the globe. Right? So that Irrawaddy dolphin is to be found in the region of Chilika. Now, it is a brackish lake separated from Bay of Bengal by a long sandy ridge, multiple sand bars, and almost sand separations like spits are to be found here. Here again, you will find extreme seasonal fluctuation where during the rainy season, the fresh water supply from the various distributaries of Mahanadi will provide with large amount of fresh water in Chilika, lowering the salinity levels, and during the dry season or during the stormy season, the seawater can ingress somewhat. Saline areas support aquatic algae in the region as well. Birds from Central Asia, Aral Sea, Lake Baikal, Caspian Sea, all of them, they venture into that. But well-known or a unique species that you will identify with Chilika is the Irrawaddy dolphin. Now, this Chilika Lake was listed earlier under the Montreux Record. Why? Because of heavy amount of siltation. So, it was listed because the heavy amount of siltation not only reduced the depth, but also reduced the variety of species that you would find in the region. Now, Chilika Development Authority, slowly and steadily, they cleared that excess amount of siltation and sedimentation. As a consequence, Chilika Lake was removed from Montreux Record in 2002. This can be a very expected question. Which are the wetlands which are the Ramsar sites listed under Montreux Record? In India, you have two of them. Okay. Then West Bengal, you have an urban wetland in the form of East Kolkata wetlands, and then Sundarbans. When we talk about Sundarbans, this is the region of the Sundarbans Delta. Now, one of the largest population density of the mangroves is what you will find in the region of Sundarbans. Now, it is located in the largest mangrove forest in the world, that is the Sundarbans here, the mangrove tree, that is the Sundari tree, is what you find in abundance. Sundari tree is what you find in abundance, right? Hundreds of islands, small islands, various distributaries, all of them, they provide small island-like feature. And that is where crocodilians, then you also have horseshoe crabs. In this region, in fact, you will also find the Royal Bengal tiger, which calls the region as its home. Now, Indian Sundarban, covering the southwesternmost part of the delta, constitutes 60% of India's total mangrove forest and includes 90% of India's mangrove species. So, species diversity, at the same time species abundance. Here you will find the critically endangered Batagur Baska, that is Northern River Terrapin. This is your Northern River Terrapin. Okay, Irrawaddy dolphin, vulnerable fishing cat, that is again something that you will find here. But important species, that is Northern River Terrapin, right? Horseshoe crabs. Horseshoe crabs are also important, by the way. Why? The blood consists of very vital healing properties used in medicinal purposes as well as testing of pharmaceuticals. At the same time, they are considered to be the living fossils which have survived for millions of years. As a consequence, they give you vital linkage in the entire story of evolution ever since the age of the dinosaurs. So that is why horseshoe crabs are very important. And 8 of the India's 12 species of kingfisher, they are to be found in the region of Sundarban. Now, as we move to the east, we come across Deepor Beel in Assam, which has been in news owing to large amount of dumping of waste, due to which Deepor Beel, the size, the area of it is reducing, and at the same time, the quality of water, that has also been continuously deteriorating. Now, this Deepor Beel, if you take a look at it, it is situated near Guwahati on the banks of river Brahmaputra, right? This is where you have the presence of Deepor Beel. So here, fresh water will be there, isn't it? And this again is in the region of Assam. So you will have Siberian cranes. You will also have various migratory species of birds coming from northeastern part of Asia. Right? So, unique biodiversity, but is threatened. It is still not listed under Montreux Record, but the amount of urban waste, the municipal waste being dumped there is alarmingly high. Now, it is a permanent freshwater lake in a former channel of river Brahmaputra. Great biological importance and essential as the only major stormwater storage for the region of Guwahati. Now, think about it. Whenever you have excess rainfall due to climate change, you have a kind of sporadic occurrence of rainfall, sudden heavy rainfall followed by dry season. Whenever you have this heavy rainfall, if you don't have these water bodies in the healthy condition, what will happen? Immediately there will be overflooding of water, and these regions like Guwahati, they get flooded. That is why important to maintain the natural sponges, which wetlands are. They absorb the excess water, recharge the groundwater aquifers as well. Now, globally threatened bird species, that is the spot-billed pelican, lesser and greater adjutant stork, and Bayer's pochard. That is something that you will find here. Then, as we move to the east, you will find the very important Loktak Lake, which is again present or has been listed in the Montreux Record. Montreux Record. Now, Loktak Lake is unique in multiple ways. Asked by UPSC twice. It is in this region where you have the protected area, that is the Kebul Lemyao National Park. In that Kebul Lemyao National Park, you have the Sangai deer or Eld's deer, right? What is the IUCN status of the Sangai deer? Let us know again in the comments. By the way, why is this Loktak Lake well known for? Loktak Lake is well known for this floating vegetation. This vegetation that you see, they are moving, right? So this floating vegetation, which is referred to as Fumdis. right? So again, unique bird species to be found here, but at the same time, very nimble Sangai deer or dancing deer to be found in the vicinity around the Kebul Lemyao. Now, this is a region where you have, it is a kind of an endorheic basin, or basically you have in the drainage pattern that you have studied in your portion of geography, you would have studied various different types of drainage pattern. That is the kind of dendritic drainage pattern, radial drainage pattern, pinnate drainage pattern, trellis drainage pattern. This is where you have what is referred to as the centripetal drainage, right? Multiple different streams, they drain into this particular lake or the water body. Okay, a large but shrinking freshwater lake associated with swamplands and supplied by several streams. So these streams, they drain into the region of Loktak Lake. Thick floating mats of weeds covered with soil, that is fundis, are the characteristic feature. Now, agricultural extension as well as population pressure is reducing the size of this water body. Then, in the eastern part in Mizoram, the only wetland, that is the Pala wetland, that is present here in Mizoram. Now here, largest natural wetland in the state of Mizoram. It is a relatively deeper lake and surrounding forest which climbs to almost 600 meters above sea level. So vital for the species of birds, right? Here you will find the sambar deer, munyak or the barking deer that you will find, wild pig, as well as hullock gibbon. Hullock gibbon is in use this year. Please pay attention to the hullock gibbon. Why? Because of the permission given for oil drilling in the Hulong Par protected area in Assam, which again threatens the hullock gibbon. So hullock gibbon, is it only found in Assam? No. Found in the Indo-Burma biosphere or the biodiversity hotspot. So Mizoram, the region here, Mizoram, is also a part of it. Pala wetland, revered by the local Mara people, has a deep connection with the historical tradition of the region. And here you will also find fierce leaf monkey to be present. Then Jharkhand has got the new wetland, the only wetland, that is the Udwa Lake, situated in the northeastern part of the state, across the stretch around river Ganga. Now here, basically Udwa is named after Saint Uddhav of Mahabharata times, referred to or revered as a friend of Lord Krishna. It has two water bodies, that is the Patoran and the Barhale Jheel, interconnected by a stream channel. Now here it is connected to the Ganga river through a stream channel that is known as the Udva Nala at Farakka. Now here again, critically endangered white-backed vulture species, Pelassus fish eagle, black-necked stork, all of them are to be found. Then in Bihar, you have Kavartal and the Nagi Nakti bird sanctuary. Now Kavartal or Kabartal is a part of the Oxbow Lake, where during the rainy season, the water tends to flow in that area. But during the dry season, it becomes a large wetland. So that is the region of Kabartal or Kavartal. So it is a part of the old meander, right, of Ganga river system. Ganga river system. Okay, this again was asked in the examination and can be asked again. So here it is known as the Kanwar Jheel, right, and basically again a part of the Central Asian flyway, right. 5 critically endangered species, 3 vulture species which are critically endangered, that is red-headed vulture, white-rumped vulture and the Indian vulture. Along with that, sociable lapwing. In the west, where was sociable lapwing found? Gujarat, right? In the region around Thol, etc., sociable lapwing was found. In the east, the extent of sociable lapwing is still Bihar. You won't find sociable lapwing to the east of Bihar taking a kind of a shelter. And Bayer's pochard, that is again a kind of basically critically endangered. This is your Bayer's pochard, right? Now, Uttar Pradesh has got the second largest number of Ramsar sites, that is 10 out in total. Not all of them are in news, not all of them are important. Here, if you take a look at Bakhira Wildlife Sanctuary, situated in the eastern part, northeastern part of Uttar Pradesh. Now here, around the region of Sant Kabir Nagar, a part of the Central Asian Flyway. And here you will find the Egyptian vulture, which is endangered, greater spotted eagle, common pochard, swamp francolin, near threatened oriental darter, and woolly-necked stork. These are some of the species. Then in Uttar Pradesh, as you move to the west, around the region of Meerut, you will find the Haidarpur wetland. Now, Haidarpur wetland was man-made by construction of the Madhya Ganga barrage on a floodplain across river Ganga. Again, why was this barrage constructed? To provide drinking water supply as well as for irrigational purposes, right? So located within the boundaries of Hastinapur Wildlife Sanctuary. Now here you will find the gharial population, critically endangered gharial population. Okay, the endangered hog deer that you will find, black belly tern, steppe eagle, Indian skimmer. Remember Indian skimmer? Migratory species. India and Bangladesh are talking about the conservation. And gold mahasir, again a species of fish. Then to the neighboring state of Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, you have two important Ramsar sites. Out of them, one of them is in Montreux Record. That is Kyola Dev. And the other is the saline water body in the form of Sambar Lake. Now, when we talk about Kyola Dev, present near the bird sanctuary of Bharatpur. Now, Kyola Dev National Park has got a larger variety of bird species which are to be found. It is a semi-arid kind of an ecosystem where you will find the presence of scrubland to be dominant in that area. Now, the invasive species, that is Paspalum, then dicticum. The Paspalum dicticum is an invasive species which is growing in that area, which is posing danger for the herbivore because herbivores don't find this particular species to be palatable. Right here, Siberian crane, which is to be found in large number. 5 species of ungulates, cats, various different varieties of species are to be found. This is in the Montreux Record. Again, important because of a kind of overgrazing. Now, overgrazing leads to what? Barren or a fallow land creation. And that leads to soil erosion. Now, this is an area, if the less vegetation is there, wind erosion is very common. Wind erosion basically removes the topsoil, As a consequence, you basically have the unproductive land or land degradation. And that land degradation has the potential to cause desertification. Okay? Then after that, so that is why it is listed under Montreux Record. Greater growth of Paspalum disticum is again endangering the scrub or the semi-arid vegetation that you find. Then when we talk about the Sambar Lake has been in news for the past couple of years due to a fear of the outbreak again of avian botulism. Now, this was a kind of a deadly outbreak of a disease spread by bacterial Clostridium, which impacted a lot of the avian species or aviary species in the region. This is where Sambar Lake is situated. Now, this Sambar Lake is saline again because the rate of evaporation is very high and the fresh water supply is not abundant enough. So, a large saline lake fed by 4 streams create a kind of a shallow wetland surrounded by sand flats and dry thorn scrub and fed by seasonal streams. It is India's largest inland saltwater lake and key wintering area for the flamingos. Remember, which was the other wetland that we studied for flamingos? The Thane Creek. There also flamingo population was very high. But the Thane Creek, it was not inland. It was basically connected to sea. This is an inland water body, right? Then the only wetland in Uttarakhand, that is the Asan Barrage. Now connected or constructed across the Asan River. Now this Asan River, again, as it is coming down through the region around Dehradun, that is where the Asan Barrage is constructed. So running down to its confluence with river Yamuna in the Dehradun district of Uttarakhand. The damming of the river by the Asan Barrage was done in 1967. Barrage, artificial construction, right? That resulted in siltation above the dam wall. Now that created some kind of soil flats, and that again provided a sheltering area for the bird species. Now they support 330 species of birds, including critically endangered vulture and Bear's pochard, right? Bear's pochard we had seen where else? In the region of Kavartal, right? So that is where you will find these critically endangered species. Then in the region of Haryana, you have Sultanpur and Bhindwas. Sultanpur again very important for the bird species. So this is where Sultanpur is situated, very close to the national capital region of Delhi, right? Again a kind of a semi-arid landscape. Shallow lake at the core of Sultanpur National Park, fed by overflow of the neighboring canals and fields and replenished by groundwater which has started becoming saline in the area. Now again seasonal aquatic vegetation with artificial islands, because if the water level goes down, there will be the sand flats or the soil flats which will be created. Critically endangered sociable lapwing. So remember, from Gujarat to Bihar to Haryana, that is the stretch for which sociable lapwing migrates to India. Then endangered Egyptian vulture, then sucker falcon, Pallas's fish eagle, these are to be found. Now 7% of the biogeographic population of bar-headed goose, 8% of the grey lag goose is something which you find. Then in Haryana, further to the west, you will find the Bhindwas Wildlife Sanctuary. Now it is the human-made freshwater wetland, largest wetland of Haryana. After all, Haryana has got only 2, right? So endangered vulture, steppe eagle, these are to be found. So vulture and eagle species, they are dominant. Then neighboring state of Punjab. Punjab has got more number of wetlands, but again not all of them are important or vital. If you take a look at Kanjli, now Kanjli is one which is very vital in terms of the traditional reverence as well. Why? Because when we talk about Kanjli, the stream is considered to be the most significant from the religious point of view, as it is associated with Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, right? So that is where it is considered to be very prestigious and is revered. Now, a permanent stream, that is the Calimere, converted by the construction of a small barrage, again for irrigation and drinking water supply, that is what serves as a wetland in the region. Now, it fulfills the criterion 3 for declaration as a Ramsar site, supporting a considerable diversity of aquatic, mesophytic, and terrestrial flora and fauna in the ecosystem. Then in Punjab, you also have the Ropar wetland. This is where you have the Ropar wetland. Now, Ropar wetland formed by construction of barrage from the diversion of water from river Satluj, then Indian otter, hog deer, sambar, Indian pangolin is to be found here. Okay. Himachal Pradesh, here one wetland has been consistently in use for the past year and a half, and that is the Pong Dam. Now here you will also find Chandratal and Renuka Lake. Renuka Lake was asked in the previous year question in terms of which of the water bodies are basically man-made. There you had one of the options as Renuka Lake. It is situated in Himachal. Now, when we talk about Chandratal, it is a high altitude water body, and it is here basically where you have the flow of river Chenab, right? So it is the Chandra river which drains through the region, then that joins with Bhaga, and then that eventually forms river Chenab. But then Pong Dam Lake is the one which has been in news. Now, Pong Dam Lake is a water storage reservoir created on the Beas River. Right? Now, in the case of Pong Dam Lake, basically the reservoir experiences some drying up during the winter season and early summer season as well, during which these kind of flats, they come in appearance. Right? You have various submerged temples as well. They also start appearing during the lesser water supply, and that becomes the sheltering ground for various species of migratory birds in the region. Then when we move to the region of Jammu and Kashmir to the north, here we have Hokera, Higam, Shalbog, Surinsar, Mansar and Vular. Now out of these, basically Hokera. Now Hokera is situated here. Right. Now in this region, basically it is a natural perennial wetland contiguous to river Jhelum. Okay, it is the only site with remaining reedbacks of Kashmir and pathway to 68 various waterfowl species that you will come across. Large egret. Egret is again important. Why? Egrets are those species which indicate the relationship of commensalism with various different cattle species. That is where egrets are important. Again asked in UPSC in 2014. Great crested crab, the little cormorant, all of these species that you find here listed are to be found, most of them migrating from Central Asia, from the region of Eurasia, particularly during the winter months. Then you have the Vular Lake, largest freshwater lake in India. Now this is a lake which is formed across a fault line. Okay, so that is where the water is substantially deep as well, and there is a fresh water supply. Okay, so extensive marshes of emergent and floating vegetation. Water chestnut is an important kind of species that you will find growing in the area. Then we have high altitude wetlands or Ramsar sites in the region of Ladakh, and that is Tso Kar and Tso Moriri. Both of them in the northeastern part of the region of Ladakh. Basically, that is where you will find them. Now, this is where you have Tso Kar and this is where you have Tso Moriri. Now, basically, it is a high altitude wetland complex consisting of two water bodies. That is the Tso Kar itself. It is hypersaline lake because, again, present to the north of Himadri. So, rainfall is not going to occur. There is evaporation which is going to be abundant. After all, it is the region of a cold desert. So again, salinity level increases, and then you have the Startsbuk So, which is a freshwater lake slightly to the south. So there is a variation because of the streams coming to this region, and as a consequence of that, multiple species. Right? It is called Tso Kar, meaning a white lake because of the presence of the salt flats. Right? The white salt efflorescence found in the margins due to excessive amount of evaporation. Now, most important breeding area for the black-necked cranes that you will find. Then, Tso Moriri, here is Tso Kar, here is Tso Moriri. Okay. Now, Tso Moriri, freshwater to brackish lake, lying at around 4,500 meters above the sea level. Again, evaporation is very high, creating slightly salty conditions. Then, in certain areas where the streams flow, fresh water. Now, the important cultural aspect here. This is one of the highest known regions in terms of the growth of barley cultivation. Okay, 400-year-old Korzok monastery is found to be present, and that is where it becomes a tourist destination. And the barley fields at Korzok, they have been described as the highest cultivable fields in the world. Right? Black-necked crane, bar-headed geese, Tibetan sheep, Tibetan wild ass, which are more common in the Changtang Plateau, that is basically to be found here. So that brings us to the end of these entire important wetlands which have been in news for the past year and a half. Mind you, in total there are 89 wetlands. Largest number of wetlands, Tamil Nadu. Second largest number of wetlands, Uttar Pradesh. Tamil Nadu, 20. Uttar Pradesh, 10. 4 new wetlands added in 2025, right? One in Jharkhand, one in Sikkim, and then 2 in Tamil Nadu, right? Then Montreux Record, 2 of the wetlands. They are also in news, Keola Dev and Lokta. So that is important for your exam. Do revise it. And if possible, maintain a catalogue of the important critically endangered species and the region where they are found. I hope this session has been helpful. Do revise for the examination with this. If you like the session, if you like the content, please put that in the comment section and don't forget to click on the like, share and the subscribe button. Till we meet again, take care. Goodbye. Thank you.